Yes, I'm sure.
And we're live.
All right. Welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour for, I don't even know what day it is. It's October 6th, 2017. I'm Dave Slusher. I'm here with my colleagues, Josh Nerius and Chuck Tomasi. And Live Coding Happy Hour is the thing where we do some experimentation and drink some beer and ease ourselves into the weekend. So let's go around the horn with the slightly longer bios. Chuck, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Chuck Tomasi from ServiceNow. I am a senior technical product marketing manager for the Now platform.
And Josh.
And I'm Josh Nerius. I'm a developer evangelist here in the developer program. Go to developer.servicenow.com and get all sorts of good stuff.
And I'm Dave Slusher, developer advocate. Same thing. Go to the same place. Go to the same stuff. All right. Let's. What we're going to do this week is this is kind of like the second really experimental one in a row. We have a use for getting a Markdown editor into ServiceNow. So we have actually started standardizing on a lot of our document creation. We've started standardizing on Markdown just internally, which is literally just me and Josh, right? And so this is how we author blog posts, and this is how we author almost everything. And so we're looking to see how far we can take it to the point where we could do literally everything we do in Markdown and like nothing else. So to that end, what I wanted to do is explore the feasibility of putting into a service portal widget, like basically creating a service portal widget that's a Markdown editor and previewer side by side. So that's what we're going to attempt. And I'm going to go ahead and start streaming, although I missed something very important. All right, so let's go around the horn. Josh.
All right, so it's actually starting to get chilly here. It's really gloomy and getting cold. I've got a vanilla porter from, what is this, Breckenridge Brewery, Colorado. First dark beer in a long time for me.
All right, Chuck?
You think, Josh, that winter's coming or something?
Yeah, winter is coming.
I have the Four Peaks Kilt Lifter Scottish Style Ale from Tempe, Arizona.
I have the Samuel Adams Black Lager, which is also kind of in that thing, even though it's like 80-some degrees here, I'm still pursuing that. So anyway.
In the Abita koozie, too. I saw that.
Yeah, I confused myself so bad. I thought I was drinking an Abita because I have an Abita koozie. And I used an Abita, and I opened it with this, but I'm not drinking an Abita. I'm drinking a Sam Adams. So
I opened with a ServiceNow bottle opener.
I have a Sam Adams beer with Abita infrastructure. So, okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let me show you. Let's start with, make sure I'm sharing the correct thing. You guys let me know when you can see it.
Got it.
It's looking good.
All right, so this is kind of the source here. It is a plunker that is showing the working kind of thing that I want to clone, which is this Angular Markdown editor. And so let me see if I can do the split here. So this thing right here, this is kind of what I want this to look like, okay? And so if you look at this thing, this is like running all some Angular. This is already written in Angular. It's running some JavaScript libraries. And you'll see that this down here, it's got a live preview. If you go and you type in here, test, and I even want to do it in Markdown thing. Second line, see how it's doing the Markdown-y thing of it doesn't really actually matter what number it is. It's doing the ordered numbered list, etc. So this is a live preview of what's going on up there, and this is exactly what I want to do. Okay, so if you come up here, so this is Plunker. If you guys like Chuck, are you familiar with Plunker in general?
I am not. Give me a background on that.
So Plunker is, and Josh, you maybe elaborate on this. Is it specific to the Angular world, or is it seems like it's all Angular stuff I ever see there. I don't know if it's limited to it.
I don't think it's limited to Angular. I think you can actually do stuff with other libraries and whatnot. It's just very common to find Angular because it gives you some tools for getting it up and running quickly.
It's basically an environment where it's like an online hosted version of your code with all the dependencies and all this kind of stuff. So effectively, like you see this files, so you kind of got this virtual file folder that has all this stuff in it. And, in here, there's a reference to a local file, this like reading this local readme MD. It's actually coming from right here, this little file over here. So what I want is I want to get to this guy working like this. The end goal ideally would be to be able to have this thing. So if I do this and I click the B, it's got this little wrapper that is, it's doing that kind of stuff. So you can have this thing, and that actually doesn't work too good. I don't know why it word wrapped, but I want to have these guys in there. I want to have all the stuff. We'll see how far we can get. Let me show you what I have done so far. So I've got this empty service portal widget at the beginning. What I did do is I went in and I created the Angular marked. So this is like a plunker showing a demo of the Angular-marked library. And so I went through and I created the dependency. So if you go in here, what I basically did was go into this thing. And I did this first because it is extremely boring watching me cut and paste. If you come over here in the plunker and you look at the app, or I'm sorry, you look in the index.html, it configures a bunch of libraries that are dependencies.
Gotcha.
So I walked down this guy, and I basically created a service portal dependency that mirrors this. Now, I cannot guarantee that this is perfect because I skipped things that I think are already there, like jQuery, Bootstrap, Angular. I didn't do those guys. I also skipped Angular sanitize for right now because what this does is sanitizes the input, and that's kind of important, but I'm not going to do it this absolute second. So I basically created everything from here down, and I put it in the same order I don't know if there's dependencies, et cetera, et cetera. So this may or may not work. We'll see what happens with this. Okay.
This is one of our more complex ones. Usually it's just like one CSS and one JS.
Yeah, and I could, if I really wanted to, what this guy is doing in this demo, and this is, by the way, this is not the only demo of this thing. This is kind of one that I sort of liked, and I liked how it worked, but I could have picked another different. This is not even the only plunker, right? So you could even factor it down because maybe there's an Angular marked. You could maybe create a dependency that's just these two, and I could have maybe done smaller groups of this. I don't know. So there are certainly different ways to approach this. And so this thing, as you see, it has all the stuff. This is an Angular single page app. So it involves, it configures the app, and it does a bunch of stuff that, like we said, doesn't exist in Service Portal. And this is one of those things where you get a little bit of that, impedance mismatch. So what we're really looking at doing, so I'm going to start with just this, is I'm going to cut out the middle of their HTML, everything from there, and hopefully I will not go too far. And then I'm going to cut some. I'm going to cut some of this out because I don't actually care about everything in there. But we'll start with this. What I really just want to do is see the darn thing work. That's ultimately where I want to get to. And I may not have the exact level of containment. We'll start here. Probably not because
something's mismatched. Yep.
And I'm just going to blindly get rid of that and assume that it's roughly the same.
It started with a div. I think it's something else.
Well, I don't know how many divs deep we are in here, but I don't actually care that much at this point. We can fix this later if we need to. Sure. Then over here in the plunker, and you'll notice this thing is very it's literally one HTML file, one CSS, one app.js.
Hey, we can do that.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is this is the trickiest part, and I think. Because it's got this provider, and I think we're going to have to do some stuff in here. You'll notice that essentially, and guys, help me out if this seems like I'm reading this wrong. It seems like this is the point where I'm going to start cutting and pasting because everything up to here is basically Angular configuration up to here. So this is like the definition of the controller right here. So this is the line. And again, you in the chat, if you know more than I know, which is extremely plausible and possible, feel free to chime in. And I think that this is the point because I think if I'm reading this right, that's the end of that. And the next curly brace is closing off that thing. It's closing off the closure that's being passed to controller. Yeah. So let's try that. And again, the editor should be helpful.
And so for those of us that are a little rusty on Service Portal, this is basically because the actual widget itself is essentially a controller, right? So this is the example code, and I guess this is an interesting exercise regardless of if it's this or something else. If you find some other code you want to use, if you find something that's in a controller, you're probably going to have to do basically exactly this.
Yeah, you're going to have to do something like this, and it will probably be an iterative process because you're going to have to make a few passes, right?
Yep.
And so this, I don't like this. I'm not going to worry about the tab indentation, blah, 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 blah.
You fix that in 3 seconds. Come on, you know the keys.
I don't remember the keys.
Select all. Shift tab.
Shift tab. Okay, excellent. All right, now let's also do the CSS.
Now, there's one other thing you want to do before you close that window. You got to put your $scope in the function.
Oh, yeah, $scope in there. Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
I'm looking for anything else, but root scope as well.
And I looked in there. Do we have to pass root scope, or does that come automatically?
I think that might be a freebie.
Let's pass it explicitly.
Put it in anyway.
And then we can
So
actually do an
scope or
A/B
root
test
scope?
later on. I don't remember. I don't remember if root scope falls out or not. I honestly don't remember.
I think you have to pass it in, but I'm also not sure.
When in
the
doubt,
live
live coding happy hour.
All right, so that, now let's come over here. I'm just going to get the CSS out of this guy. This one's easier because I don't have to
Just
can
a
just
straight up copy
do it
paste.
straight, bodily paste. Okay. And there's going to be, I can guarantee you that there's going to be at least one little bit of weirdness because like this GitHub thing is going to be on there because I think it's coming, I think it's falling out of the GitHub CSS that I'm passing in there, which we may want to pull this out later on. But so guarantee there's going to be some funkiness. All right. So I'm going to hit the button. I can get rid of that and leave the other two. And because I got the preview, we'll see what that does for us. So I hit save. And by the way, there's no, no data is coming down. There's no server script. It's just,
Oh,
all right. So we got a
We're
chunk
done.
of this.
10 minutes, we're done.
A chunk of this is working. So you'll notice that it is somewhat formatted. It's not perfect. So that if you come over here, you'll notice it's not completely formatted, although there is some formatting because you got that italics here.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So the italics are there. We've got some stuff. A few of these things I wouldn't expect to work. We don't have any of our icons.
Nope.
Up here.
Oh yeah. So it's just a raw
We don't
text
have the
area.
preview. Yeah, we've just got a text area. We do have the preview result.
Yeah, the
That is
preview.
actually good news.
Oh wow. Nice.
Sweet.
And let's see, it is in fact responding. Let's just do them first.
Massive applause.
that.
Okay.
Wow.
So this is like a first approximation. This is not too shabby.
Oh, wait, we got something weird going on downstairs.
No, this is absolutely expected because that is in this plunker. This guy is like reading a local file that we don't have. So everything down here is reading that local file. So I'm just going to pull that section out because we don't even care about that. So everything from down here to preview results. So that's it. This guy. Let's get rid of everything else for a second here. So you see right here, it's doing the source readme MD doesn't exist in our widget. So we'll get rid of this div. I'm just going to get rid of everything from down here. And let's resave.
And when that's gone,
so-
I got a question. So
Yes.
I'm curious. So if we look at the preview result,
Mhm.
before we go too far, can we look at how that's happening? Because I think like right off the bat, this is already really, really useful because if you have Markdown and if you've stored it somewhere and if you want to say create a widget that just renders Markdown, like this is already there.
Yeah, so let's look. So let's go through this. So we've got, again, this in our libraries. We've got the marked. This is like the library that does the actual rendering of Markdown. This marked .js, and this is kind of a lot of marked is. I want to say like what I looked at in here. I think the last edit is 2014, but it is a fairly common one. I think it's just like once they implement it, there's not a whole lot to do after that. So
Yeah. It's a pretty static set of things.
right. Then what we've got is this Angular marked, which my understanding, and again, I have not dug through these deeply, but this is like what's giving the directives. This is kind of that Angular wrapper around marked, which is kind of giving you some of the directives that's coming from it. The Bootstrap Markdown is that editor window, which is not quite working now. Highlight is doing kind of some of the code highlighting, and then this is the Angular shim. Okay, and
Got
so
it.
those are the libraries that are coming down. Down here, you'll see the directives that we're passing is the Markdown cheat sheet up here. You'll see that it is a marked directive. It's like a marked tag,
Mhm.
and that thing is here. That's
Oh,
this
interesting.
that we're looking at here. And you'll notice it's not like this is the one that's not perfect, right? It's some of it is working. Like you'll see how it's rendering the link, and this link is in fact defined in Markdown format. It's not doing. Isn't this supposed to be a H4? It's not doing that perfectly.
Yeah,
but it's doing somewhat in there.
Interesting.
But this is an H2, So, and I don't know if that's I don't know what happens if we like add extra carriage returns.
Close it or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we can look at that later.
Okay.
So we've got this marked directive that basically says render what's between these tags, render the markdown between these tags. Okay. So that's like the static view that you were talking about.
Sure.
Cool. Then down here, so we got this thing, and I actually this full screen preview. I'm not going to click it. I don't know what will happen. But then we're down here in this markdown, and this is you'll see we've got two things. We've got we got the text area, and we're defining it. Basically, we're saying the ng model is editor 1 of this text editor. So basically, that's the model of the text that's in it. And we're defining that it is a Markdown editor, okay? And some of the stuff like might not be working. This is probably why we're not getting the buttons, and that's maybe the next thing we'll explore. Okay, so the text area we're defining as this Markdown area editor. We're basically defining it in the tags with this model and as a Markdown editor. Then down here we've got another div, which has the attribute of marked. And this I don't like. This one actually. Let's actually do something. Let's do something in here. What happens if because I don't really like the way you've got the div marked.
Versus
you want to put the dollar at the curly brace editor 1 inside of there.
Well, let's do this. Mark
class equals markdown.
Class markdown.
Yep.
This is, and again, I have zero idea if this is going to work or not. Let's give it the class markdown, and let's give it the MG model.
Yeah.
Because I actually would prefer, if that works equally well, I would prefer that syntax, because we've got different. I don't like it being an attribute. I'm going to assume that they're an act-alike. That either way you're rendering markdown. If I would rather do one or the other, but not a mix of them, right?
Would you do the NG model, or would you do the double curly brace between the tags?
I think we want this, because let's do that. So what we should do is get 2 copies of the same box. Both of them rendering that, if that works. It may just poop out. Let's see. And
this one.
Nothing. So it may be. See, I think, and we could do this. Let's try that. Editor 1. We get rid of that so we don't have any confusion between that. Let's see if that one works.
Huh. No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting.
So it may be possible that this thing doesn't do a dynamic. I don't know.
That seems kind of silly to have 2 different methods of doing that.
It does, doesn't it? Let's try this. And if I put some more static text in there,
that's a good idea.
That render. Let's just see if we get a render on that guy. And it's actually not rendering.
What are we missing? How are we different than the one above?
I wonder if it needs white space.
Yeah, I'm gonna just put the white space between it and see if it renders that as an H2. If it does, so it does. So that's weird. This guy only works with static text. Huh. This may take. So I'm going to take a note to examine this later on. That seems weird to me, but that could be an idiosyncrasy of the Angular marked library.
Well, and this is one of those things where you might find out that maybe it's just not very well written. I don't know, and maybe there's a different one, a better one. Who knows? Right.
Yeah,
and that is kind of one of the pitfalls of really taking anything on like this. Is you're then kind of at the mercy of whatever. Is it a good library? Is it a bad library? You don't necessarily know until you start digging in.
Well, here's the beautiful part of that is that we've already validated the proof of concept, right? We know this is possible, and this is possible at the worst case scenario. Is this possible with this, and it just gets better from here, right? Mm-hmm. So if we find something better, we can try to do that. Worst case, you kind of go forward with this, and you know that it does in fact work.
Yeah.
So it's doing the minimal part that we like, and there may be, like you say, there may be aspects that would improve or we could figure out more, better, elegant ways. For now, we have something that works. Now let's decide. What I want to do next is figure out why we're not getting those buttons. And so what I'm going to do is go to our old friend, JavaScript console. And that is very much what I expected to see. Let's clear everything and reload this guy and see what comes down. And so it's going to come down. Something is going to poop out. Try to load Angular more than once.
That did in your dependencies maybe?
Absolutely, one of the dependencies may have
some kind of.
You said you left that one out.
Well, let's see if maybe this guy. I'm just guessing. I'm guessing that this guy. Well, I don't know that it's a dependency. Here's what I think it might be. Copy URL to clipboard. I think it might be that one of these guys is defining an Angular app inside of itself. Oh, you know what I didn't do is that provider. I wonder how important that provider is. That's not what I was trying to do. I was trying to copy the URL to this thing. So is this guy is not defining Angular. So this was my first guess as the problematic one, but it does not look like it's the one. And marked wouldn't be. So let's try this guy.
Yeah, Angular marked seems like that could be a candidate for it. And it's minified. Can you just take out the .min in the URL?
Let's see.
Or the unlikely.
Nope, one too many.
Missed the dot.
All right. Unindent. I don't see Angular. Angular marked. Angular. Okay, so that's
.module app. That that's in a comment right there, so that's not even a
comment. Yeah, let's see. That's still a comment. If Angular is undefined, Angular. Marked provider.
So in the console, was that an error or a warning?
In the console,
there was some really red
warning.
This is a warning.
Oh, that's a warning.
But this is so. Now notice that we didn't get the whatever that JavaScript error was.
Right. Yeah, there were a couple pink ones in there before.
Let us see if we work with this a little bit. Do we get any errors? Nope.
Something else that might be worth trying too, depending on what happens, is to throw this in a page so it's not inside the.
That's true.
All right, let's do that. Let's create a page and just add it.
You didn't automatically create a page?
I don't remember if I did. Let's go back here. Boom, 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 boom. Whoa, where'd we go? All right. Back to the widget record. I don't think I automatically created a page. So let me just go ahead and create a new page. And I forget the best way to do this. Can I?
You just go. Yeah, I think we go to
Page Designer. Yeah.
Designer. Okay. I actually, like, a minority of the time, am I actually designing a page?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I usually don't do too much of that.
I usually do just to test my widgets. I always have a test page for every widget. Almost every widget.
All right, container. Just put it all here. Oh, I guess I didn't actually need that extra one. Let's get rid of that guy. Get rid of that guy, and then let's find my Markdown editor. Drop it in there. And let's preview it.
I would even load it on its own tab.
Yeah, I am gonna do that in a second.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that it's doing the basics. Okay. And then page designer. So LCHH. And I'll be damned if I can ever remember. There's another thing that I can never remember the URL pattern for this.
It's
I think
portal question mark ID,
ID
equals page.
Yeah, okay. Portal. Is it
Pick the out of the box one. Just try SP.
SP? SP.
Question mark ID equals.
Question mark ID equals. Pull up.
Widget page. Markdown editor. Markdown.
Doop.
I got a slash in
ID
there.
equals. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Our test bench is set up.
At least we now know.
Okay. All right. And now let's go back and look at the what am I doing here? Let's
When
go
I'm
back
not here, those are the kinds of things I'm screaming at you. ID equals.
So it is getting
awesome.
a not found.
Font awesome web font is not found.
There was an
Interesting.
FA something in there.
All right, so let's go back to the plunker.
And
Because there's some
Service Portal doesn't support all font awesome icons or font awesome doodads.
It might be a fundamental problem we're not going to get around. So let's see. Back here in the index HTML.
And maybe a way to bring in the rest of them, but I haven't figured it out yet.
So let's just see. I don't know that I have those in my. I don't know that I have those in my dependencies.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
So let's see if that's in there. In fact, it's almost certainly. Oh, it is. I do have that in there.
You do have that in there.
And
Is there? Huh.
Let's look at it for a second. The CSS. I don't know why the CSS is so different than the
JS.
The JS. It's one of those things that always. All right, so I've got the font awesome in there. It's minified, so. So this has all this stuff. But what was it? How would it? Let's go back up here and look at exactly the. Oh, it's looking for a local.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's looking for a local font awesome web font file.
So it's actually expecting that to be like in the same folder or something. If you go back to that CSS page that you had a second ago and scroll all the way to the left, I noticed there was a, I think it was at the beginning. Yeah, right there. Notice where it's saying source URL equals.
Hey, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of this.
Do it by reference?
I'm going to do it by reference. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's switch that guy out for this.
And that way it's local to them.
Local to them, and it's not my problem.
Shift the blame.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I noticed that it had that / at the beginning, and does that basically automatically or dynamically determine
match the
basically
protocol?
Yeah, so if it's
Should match.
HTTP or
I think
HTTPS.
I think that's the nature of that. Is it matches the protocol, so you don't get that mismatch, like that secure.
Right, which will
mismatch business.
completely break some things depending on the context.
Absolutely, it'll break the whole. If you have one of those, it'll break the whole widget editor. Because I've done that. When I was like my very original stuff that I was doing with those
Helsinki first came out.
Yeah, I was doing it on a local instance, and all my references to my external CDNs were not SSL links. And then when I moved them up to my employee instance, every one of them broke, and they broke so severely that like you couldn't even load the widget editor. Okay.
Good information to have.
All right. So theoretically, that thing now.
No red.
No red. Also,
No
no icons.
Editor.
Yes.
So actually, I wonder if, going back to the Plunker example, there was a bunch of stuff at the beginning. I think it was in the app.js. I think that's where it was.
So that provider?
Yeah. So,
Up here.
this configuration. I'm just wondering. So, well, that's the marked provider. That doesn't seem to be the editor. What is the editor itself? Is the editor
right here? This is just that model. This is like defining that model here.
But I guess what I mean is the editor. Is the editor also marked, or is the editor some other library?
I think the editor is Bootstrap. The editor is Bootstrap Markdown.
Okay, got it.
I think this guy. Now let's go ahead and, if we want to, let's just go look at that code. I think this guy is in fact that editor. So like looking at stuff like this with no background.
Because I feel like that's probably the key.
Show editor. Yeah, so show editor. Right, so this is like where it's defining it. It's possible that we're not instantiating it the same way that they are.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the app.js. So on full screen callback, show preview. This is the showing a preview. Also,
nice documentation.
Text area, root scope. It's also possible, just as an experiment, let's try taking out that. We might actually have screwed it up by passing root scope in, because we may have been creating we may have been creating a local variable that is preventing it from correctly addressing the automatic one. So let's just see what happens if we take that out. Again, I'm just sort of a naive.
I'm going to take a look at a similar example.
It didn't hurt anything, but it also didn't. Fix it. So let's come over here and let's look at it in the real page and see if there's anything different in this guy. Yeah, I don't see anything different. So,
is there? Do you have all the core Bootstrap stuff that you need?
I wonder. I don't.
Because that thing. So I'm looking at the Bootstrap plugin for Markdown editing, and because this appears to be almost an extension of Bootstrap, I wonder if there's some kind of.
Do we have to tell Bootstrap that we're using this? Is that what you think?
Yeah, either that, or I also wonder, because I know Service Portal has its own flavor, or Bootstrap is somehow incorporated in that, and so I wonder if there's either a conflict or if there's something that we need to pull in that's not there, because I know Bootstrap has some JavaScript libraries that come with it.
Well, I would think if there's a conflict, I would kind of expect to see it over here in the form of a error.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But so what it says to me is probably a thing not getting called, or an association not being made. I'm trying to see if I can figure out where those icons come from. And again, this is kind of like finding a needle in a needle stack, right? It's
Show
me the
icon library. Okay. All right, what are you saying, Chuck?
Show me the original again, the Plunker screen.
You want the
bold? I'm just looking
JavaScript?
at the icons over there.
Yeah.
Visually determine if they're font awesome or glyphs.
So I was just looking in here. Yeah. So glyph icon. So this is. I don't know what.
It's a combination.
Yeah.
They're using some glyphs, some octo. Yeah.
What's interesting here, so I'm looking through Bootstrap Markdown documentation, and in a non-Angular world, you're basically getting a reference to the text area, and then you're calling a Markdown function on that text area, which almost makes it seem like what is this actually doing? It's almost like a jQuery
see how
extend.
Right, it's defining in the Markdown defaults. It's defining this array of buttons.
Yep.
See that?
Yep, there's your bold button with a hotkey. I like that.
Just a bold. Oh, here's a question. Does the hotkey work? And I. Try Control I. No, I'm not seeing it.
I think that might already be italics, isn't it? No.
Well, I'm just picking anything.
Yeah.
It would
Yeah.
wrap it if
Yeah, you're right.
Like B, command B. No. So
It could be any number of factors that we don't know right now.
So this is like this definition, this array definition of these buttons. And that's that is in fact a lot of what this is. The events on hook, blah 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 blah. So to find that. Now let me see if I can see what this guy in here, this buttons array. So this is like when I was talking about the experimental part. This is kind of this is like where I find myself sometimes just in the weeds. Like I don't really know that much about the thing. I'm just sort of looking for something that like looks like a smoking gun, right? Hide buttons, disable all. So we've got these enable all. This dot enable all.
You know,
like quit preview mode.
So just thinking about this, if we just so that text area, I wonder if the icons are maybe not the issue, because I feel like if we were actually initializing the editor, we'd at least be getting boxes over there, even if the icons didn't come through.
Okay. So let's look.
Like my theory, I feel like there's an initialization step somewhere, because so it's just a text area and something has to be called on that text area to actually say this thing is, apply the code that turns the text area into an editor and applies all the various styles and everything. And I don't know where that's happening. Because when you look at the documentation for Bootstrap Markdown, it's very explicit. It's like there's a method that you call and then it turns the text area into the editor. But I don't see that. I don't know where that's happening.
What's the name of that method?
It's .markdown. So basically, it's like a jQuery style thing where you run a jQuery. You get a reference to the jQuery object, then you call a Markdown method and pass in the options that you want to pass in. I'm guessing that's up here.
Let's look for it. Let's see if we can find .markdown in here. .markdown. So Markdown Service equals marked.
Got it.
Marked. VM.markdown? What's VM? Oh, VM is.
Yeah, what is VM?
No, this is not a function call. It's
just an object. VM must be somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't even know what that's. So, it's a little bit weird.
Yeah, this is really weird. Unless, all right. So one other question then is there one of the dependencies does that essentially wrap Bootstrap Markdown and Angularify it, and is that happening off the screen somewhere?
Let's see. So we've solved the font awesome problem. So if we come over here, so you would expect, so Bootstrap, you're saying Bootstrap Markdown outside provides that .markdown method, but somebody else needs to be calling that.
Yeah, I feel like something somewhere is calling that, and I don't know what.
I don't know that can be in any of these dependencies, because there's none of these dependencies in here that know that Bootstrap Markdown is there. Like these guys, none of these guys should be calling Bootstrap Markdown, I wouldn't think. Right, that should be over here. I want to say this file right here, this app.js, is the only file that knows.
So
using all these guys.
Angular Markdown Editor, I guess, what's that? Because that thing is getting injected in the module there, in that line 3.
Angular Markdown Editor. Let's see, back over here. Angular Markdown Editor.
And we've got some comments in chat, so somebody's pointing out. Let's see.
Oh, here we are. Oh, hey.
Hey,
this may look at this. Look at this.
Oh, there's a missing thing.
It snuck one in on us.
I feel better.
So now, this is gonna be sticky. Look at that. Whew.
I think this is still possible, though.
This is the definition of the Markdown Editor directive.
Right. And can't you create these things like a...
Can I create a provider?
Yeah.
Getting into unknown territory from me.
I mean, of course, the other option is you could just manually do it. You could not do it in an Angular way, and you could use.
Why don't I do? I tell you what. Why don't I do exactly what they're doing for right now, which is to say, let's just do this.
Put it in your HTML.
The head in the H. Well, I don't have the head. I'm just gonna put it in the body. We're just gonna stick it in here for right now. Let's see. So it's not as elegant.
Cross
as
fingers and pray.
I'm just going to do that. So now whatever that thing provides should at very least live in the scope of this. Does not change it though. Does not change it there. Does it change it over here?
Do we get rid of any errors? Do we get any new errors?
I think it looks about the same to me.
Pretty darn close.
And somebody else is asking, Casey's asking, what version of Bootstrap is ServiceNow using? The Git for Bootstrap Markdown has dependencies. So that's an interesting point as well.
That we might have a version of Bootstrap older than what this thing needs.
Yeah, either older or just somehow different.
There is another way to skin this cat, which is not necessarily what I'm loving or desirous of, but like all the stuff that this guy's doing could be re-implemented. What I'd rather do is just drop a thing in and make this work.
Mm-hmm.
But like all the functions that these guys provide could be provided. So where was that buttons array?
The other thing too is, I mean, at that point you could just start going from the documentation for Bootstrap Markdown.
Yeah.
So if you go to, or if you just Google for Bootstrap Markdown, there's a Git repo for it, and then there's a thing, and it gives you examples of here's a text area and here's how you call the. Because if you could do that, that could at least turn it into an editor.
Oh
yeah, so you have to go there to that demos and documentation.
Let's figure out what version of Bootstrap we got. If we come over here, can we do our sources? Can we find Bootstrap in here? This may be tricky. If we can reverse engineer and get this for a fact, not 100% sure where to even start looking. I think, do we wrap all the JavaScript together into one?
Yeah, there's a lot of bundling that happens for performance reasons. I know that.
Where is the code search? Let's see. Bootstrap. There's Angular sanitize. Is that already in there? Oh, nice. Okay. Bootstrap scripts.
Oh, there you go.
We're gonna do some hackery here. Just see. Okay, Bootstrap 3. So that seems like that shouldn't be too terrible, right?
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
Version 2x, Bootstrap 3. So demo documentation here. And so by adding data provide equals markdown attribute. Well, let's just try that. Do we have that? I don't think we do.
Yeah, I don't think so. And in theory, as long as you've already got the dependency coming in, so that should.
Let me get rid of all that. Get rid of everything else. Just look at that. Data provide.
Not seeing it.
I don't see it either. So let's just try it. All right. Bring it back on the screen.
Where?
No, still
not yet.
Also,
nothing in the console.
In there.
So at this point, if you scroll a little further down, they do have examples where you are taking full control. So there's further yes, yeah, like that. Some text area dot markdown. You're basically getting a reference to that area and then calling the method directly. So you're not not allowing it to happen sort of implicitly. It's something you're doing.
Hidden buttons, disabled buttons, icon library. Include the font awesome style sheet yourself. Default to glyph. Are we defining that stuff? Because we are icon library. It's font awesome. What if we make this glyph? And just see. But this is kind of goes back to what you were saying before. Is there's also not empty boxes.
Yeah, there aren't empty boxes, and because of the fact that we don't have that,
we don't even have that area that would be filled.
Right.
Right.
It's just a generic text area at this point.
Yeah, which basically leads me to believe that we're passing in these various Angular things, and it's nothing's interpreting them. Nothing is acting on that.
Let's see. Let's go ahead and do. Let's do their exact. Let's just paste this at the very bottom of that. Let's see what in the heck happens if we do that underneath that HR. So their thing. Do they say? If we've just got Bootstrap Markdown and like whatever dependencies Bootstrap Markdown has, you would think that that would be fulfilled. So let's see what that does. I don't actually hold that much.
You know, something else that might be interesting here is this might be a situation where we want to create a new widget and just limit the scope of this to the Bootstrap Markdown example so that there's nothing else going on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a good idea. So let's go in. We'll just create new widget.
Take a look at the chat.
Let's just call it Bootstrap Markdown. Just preview. And let's just go ahead and Bootstrap Markdown. Let's create a new dependency, like you said, that is solely the one thing. Call it Bootstrap. I'm just going to name it Bootstrap Markdown. Bootstrap Markdown. All right, and then so I should be able to just bring in the one UI script. I don't even remember if this guy has CSS.
I wonder if we need that include on page load. I don't know what does that do? We can get to that back in a second. Let me go back.
All right, so we just got that. So Bootstrap Markdown, that's the only thing that's in this dependency.
Hover over that field label for us for a second, Dave.
The page load?
Yeah.
No one put a hint on it.
I just never noticed it before, so I was curious. But
I think that has to do with like it's kind of like global in UI script. I think it's like whether it comes down on request or every time.
Got it. That makes sense.
Okay, so let's try that. Bootstrap Markdown. Oh, shoot. I backed up from the thing I was trying to back up to. Okay, so we've got that. We've got a dependency that is just Bootstrap Markdown. Doesn't have all that other stuff in it. And let's go ahead and just put there. Open it in the widget editor. It's going to clobber my other thing. And let's just... Did I enable preview? Please tell me I did. Good. In their example... so they don't even need any...
no JavaScript? It looks like they're
no
just reading
JavaScript definition? Yeah.
Yeah.
Curious. I don't know that I buy that. But let's see. Oh. All right, what does this do? Yeah, see, it's not
effectively exactly what it did before.
Yeah, exactly what we expected. So whatever we're missing, we're consistently missing. Let's not do that. Let's open that in a new tab. So this is where we've gotten, we've hit one of these walls where we kind of hit the research wall here. JS, Bootstrap Markdown JS. So this is what we're giving via the CDN, right?
You know what else I just realized too is that this might actually go back to exactly that checkbox we were looking at because we're not calling any code. I wonder.
Well, let's try it.
Yeah.
Let us try it. So we'll go to the dependency. Let's just include it on page load. Portals for page load. Oh, we'll start with this.
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably. If that's how it works.
Uh-oh. Still going. Nope.
That actually is encouraging to me because I feel like
now we might get an error.
Oh, I don't think this guy has ever actually finished.
Oh, okay. Never mind. That would explain it. I was going to say maybe it just has an issue rendering it inside of the widget editor, but I think that was being a little too optimistic.
Dave broke his instance.
That would not be the first time. All right, so let's go. Did this guy ever save? Let's go to my dependency. I guess I could directly go to. No, okay, so it's there. Now let's resave. Saved. Let's go ahead and in our page editor. Yikes.
Whoa. Well.
Remember what I was saying about things that would, how you can completely screw up your.
Yeah. So maybe something about that Bootstrap Markdown is not.
All right. So I'm resaving that. Let's go back and see. Can I return to this and have it work? So that include on page load. Let's we get real scientific on that. Let me go back. Dependency should be in here. Let's do nothing but save that one dependency. Ugh. I would like updated to be a default on every single list in the entire system. So the absolute first thing I do with any one of these guys. All right. Okay, so I'm going to redo that.
Save it.
Save. When I do that, breaks it.
Huh.
So
including
on
broke
page
the
load,
whole service portal.
breaks to Page Designer.
So here's something I don't know. I tend to give up very, very, very easily and quickly on JavaScript libraries and go to the next one.
Okay.
Go to well, maybe first turn this thing off, but look at simplemde.com. And I don't know if we have time to actually go through it, but it looks promising and not related to Bootstrap.
Simple MDE Angular. This guy?
Yeah.
Angular JS wrapper for simple MDE. All right, let's look at this. All right, so if you've looked at this, do you know?
So the only thing I know is I haven't tried the Angular version of it, but I have played with just Simple MD by itself. So if you go to like the main Simple MD website, it's actually it's nice looking, but what I don't know is if you can do it without doing the Angular version or not. But
so is this this is Simple MDE? So Simple MDE's got to be a dependency of this, right?
Yeah. So I would think you'd have to bring in Simple MDE, and you'd have to bring in these things.
Let's do a new dependency. I'll just call it Simple MDE. Now you guys are going to watch the cutting and pasting.
Yeah.
All right. So this, and I'm just going to, for right now, I'm just going to do this straight out of here.
And I guess for everyone watching, I mean, this is kind of an interesting. This highlights one of the things that I think you are going to run into when you're trying to bring libraries in and make them work with Service Portal. And some of the time you may not be able to use the first one. So
what am I looking at? This Angular, simple MD. It doesn't matter what I give it there. Okay. Then let's get in simple MDE. I just need simple MDE itself. So this thing.
Yeah.
And does it have view on GitHub? Let's find this thing. And this is, I mean, this does go to the core promise of Service Portal, right? Is that the second one, particularly because this one doesn't have a bunch of, a bunch of libraries, is that it takes. Oh shoot! But I just did the wrong. I need the raw.
Yeah.
I give it the wrong URL right there. Okay. It doesn't take long to do these things. So this is like the original keynote at Knowledge where Fred was on stage, discussing this. This is basically what he's talking about: is find leverage code that already exists and just don't have to worry about the minutia of things like that.
Yeah.
Somebody built it. You can leverage that. All right. Let's go back over here. Let's get the CSS. And just to be clear on this, this is not recommending this as production. Roll this out this way. Pointing to the raw part of GitHub.
Right. Yeah. You want to actually bring these in.
Yeah. You bring it in, CDN. Or you would have a CD, like an official CDN or something like that. We're doing this as for hackery, trying to get this thing going, but that's not. It's not any way that we would recommend. All right. And can I create a new widget from here with this? Simple MDE. MDE. What's the name of this? Simple MDE. Create test.
MED?
No,
might want to fix that.
I don't know. I like Simple Med. It seems like a new place to find out that I have, when I'm sick, that I have things that I don't.
Here's your prescription. It'll fix everything.
Now, here's the deal. So when you create it from over there, you have the option to create the test page easily. What you don't have is the option to turn the preview on easily.
Right.
So you still got to come and do a different thing no matter what you do. All right. Let's do that. All right. So now we're in here editing this thing. And we shouldn't even need, I need to reload it because I just changed the preview. So should be able to enable the preview now. Okay, preview is enabled. So literally, I should be able to do nothing but, so where's my simple MDE? Find that example.
Yeah, simple MDE Angular.
That's it. Yeah, simple MDE Angular is that the thing I want.
Yeah, because you don't want the vanilla example because that won't be the wrapped version. So I think you want
example.
Actually, go back one to that Git repo. I think they might have had something in there. I'm not sure.
This thing.
Yeah. Is there like on the README or something? Yeah, there we go.
So just
text
area, literally
simple MD. Yeah.
Let's just try it.
Nice.
What in the heck does this thing do if we stick it in there?
That's simple.
It's a text area.
That's maybe simpler than I was shooting for.
It is simple MD.
That is way
simple.
I wonder. Let's see. Do you need to inject it or?
Yeah, keeping an eye on the time. We're at the at the hour.
Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. So so what we've got is a proof of concept that we can find a Markdown. I mean, we found a Markdown editor that actually does do some of it. It doesn't do everything that we want. Like this guy does some of it. It doesn't have what we really would like to do is have the little buttons, up there. We could conceivably pursue adding them the hard way, but like Josh says, maybe if we have to do that, maybe it's just as easy to go find something else that does work. So what I'm going to do is do a little bit of research project on. So you notice it does have like the ones that I do, they always have a research project. It's like, all right, looking for more code that does something. So we know that we can do this much, which is 80% of the way there, right?
Well, yeah, just the fact that we have a renderer to me is a huge win, because now you can go out there and you can create a Markdown renderer, and if you've got Markdown data, you can make that actually show up nicely, and that in itself.
Absolute worst case, we have a live renderer responding over here, doing the stuff. So even if we didn't have the nice, see, I don't know what it's not doing. Okay. Even though we didn't have the nice buttons up there, at the very least, the fact that you get real-time feedback, kind of, because one of the use cases we're worried about is people that are not Markdown experts. So having like the real-time display goes a long way towards showing you, if you're doing something wrong, right away.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So, if you're not exactly sure, is it one? Is it, what does an underscore do? It kind of shows you what's going on. So, this is way better than nothing. It's now the question is, what do we do to get to where we have all the stuff that we want, right? If this had the buttons on there, we could really just change the layout to I'd probably prefer left to right, side by side. Change the layout so that it does that, and we're done.
Yeah.
The fact that the buttons don't come up is the only real problem with this one. So then the question becomes kind of measuring the delta. Is it more or less work to try to fix the buttons, to re-implement the buttons, or to find a library that does everything we want out of the box? And so as we've seen, we took 5 minutes or 10 minutes and we explored another option. So we could take a few hours and just explore every option on the first 5 pages of Google, right? That's certainly possible. So that something like that's what's going to happen in the near future. But this is actually kind of heartening. So the fact that this experiment got this far is a really, really good sign.
Yeah, in just a few minutes too.
Yeah, I mean, we got here at a quarter to 5, right? It's everything since then has been trying to figure out what can we do to make this button show up. So the buttons have been the 45 minutes of the hour that we've spent here. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the share. And because this one involves so much talking, I have barely drunk this beer, so I'm way, 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 way behind.
Not even the celebratory, hey, we got it on the screen?
I've had this much, so.
Way ahead
Ooh, of good. The first beer of the day. Always the best.
That was the best one.
Let's go around the horn while I have a little of this.
So this is, let's see. Again, the Breckenridge Vanilla Porter. I've had it before. It's certainly not the first time. It's always delicious. It's a solid 4.
Vanilla porters are always on my favorite list as well.
The winter beer.
Kilt Lifter Scottish Style Ale from Four Peaks Brewing is gone. So it was very good. Good ale. I'm going to give it a solid 4 as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to give this black lager. Some of it might be just the context. If it was a little colder, I'd probably like it a little better. I'm going to give it a 3.5. Not loving it. So there you go. All right, my friends. We'll probably we're having the production meeting on air, but I think we're probably not having a show next week. I know two of the 3 of us are traveling, and then we'll kind of see what happens the week after that. So all right, it's kind of up in the air. Next time might be Chuck. Chuck is available.
Yeah,
might be. We'll see.
Look for us. The developer meetup season is coming up, so we're scheduling those up for Q4. So keep your eyes peeled on your. Do you have any locked
in that you're going to, Chuck?
I have Tampa Bay locked in on November 14th.
Okay.
We'll be there. and the Bay Area on December 8th, 7th? Might be the 7th. I got to look. So whenever the Bay Area meetup is. So those two are locked in with plenty more in the queue right now.
Josh, do you have any that are done deals?
So I should be in Denver on November 7th, and then Seattle isn't locked in yet, but potentially on the 8th or the 9th I'll be in Seattle. So I'm looking forward to that. We're actually probably going to do some IoT stuff, which is going to be interesting.
Why am I going east and you're going west?
Brother, it's about to get worse. So I'm going to be in Minneapolis on the 14th, November 14th, and Boston, I think, on November 7th. And I think both of those are like 90%. I don't know that either is like completely done deal, but I think both are pretty solid. So this is not the most geographically optimized.
I was going to say, like, Minneapolis is a 50-minute flight for me, I think.
I was going to say, yeah. And Denver is like an hour for me. James Neal is asking if anybody has any plans to go to London anytime soon.
You know, should we air our dirty laundry? We would have been there on that day if we had our talk had been submitted, if it had been accepted by DevRel.
Oh, it didn't get accepted?
Did not get accepted.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, in fact, the talk that we submitted was like building engagement via live coding. So we were literally submitting this as a talk, and I loved it. We're actually gonna keep submitting that talk because we really like the talk.
Yeah.
But so we're not. I don't know that we're going over for just that. It would have been a gimme if we were already there on the day anyway. That we would come to.
Usually the overseas ones have to piggyback on a larger event.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did last year because they had it the same day as DevRel and the day before the hackathon last year, and that's why we were there. So probably not this time, James. I'm afraid. Although I'd love to. Yeah, I could be sold.
Ditto.
But it's a tough sell to fly to London and back for a dev meetup. So.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully some point.
Absolutely. Okay. I think that's it. So we'll see you in probably 2 weeks. So thanks, everybody.
All righty. Bye.
Goodbye. And I always forget I'm the one hitting the button. Boop.